What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. I was talking to a couple of buddies who shall remain nameless, but they know who they are. And I was discussing the potential outcomes of future lineage of what could become of the Intellivison Amico after that letter that Phil Adams sent out last week discussing how they are in conversations and potential mergers or deals and whatever discussions they're having with these potential clients or investors or whatever the verbiage he said. Very non-specific, and then conveniently tying it up with, and we've both agreed to have a quiet time and not discuss anything publicly. It's pretty sus. Subscribe, bell for notifications, like the video, all that fun stuff. You already know that drill. Okay, so Phil Adams sent out an email last week to Intellivison mail list, letting people know that the project is not dead. And that was basically it. And even that email saying that didn't really prove that's the case. If anything, it's just more words from a company that's lied over and over and over and over. Well, I could just keep saying that again, time and time again, until the cows come home. They have not been truthful with their audience. So there's nothing to lead me to believe that that email held any water at all. And especially because it didn't have any specific information to any parties involved whatsoever. It just implied that there were a potential interested party, parentheses, S, that were interested in pursuing a deal with Intellivison. Let me be very clear. That's not happening, in my humble opinion. This is an opinion video, by the way, which I hope we're allowed to have. I look at the situation as an investor myself who put $10,000 into this console, knowing the books that they've publicly given out during their Start Engine campaign that failed miserably, exposing the just dumpster fire of a situation the company's in right now, and just clear as day looking at it being like, yeah, no investor or investment group or company in their right mind would do anything with this company in the current state that it's in. But there are two potential outcomes that I do see happening that can pave a road for the future where people will play these games. And in this video, I'm going to go over those two different paths that could potentially happen. None of those paths involve Intellivison partnering with someone and producing the Intellivison Amico. That is done. Not happening, in my humble opinion. First option. All right, here we go. So the first thing I could see them doing is filing bankruptcy as soon as next week. Because at this point, the gig is up. They don't have the money. They don't have the finances. They cannot continue operating past 2 months from now. They already advised people of that in the filing with the Start Engine campaign and didn't raise anything. The $50,000 that they raised, I do believe, went back to the initial investors. I don't think Amico, or I should say Intellivison, was able to keep that. But even if they were, it's not going to make a dent in their day-to-day operations, so it's not even worth talking about. What I see happening is bankruptcy incoming. And Phil Adams, CEO, put in charge by Tommy to help go through the process of bankruptcy. And Phil has some experience in going through this process previously. That's, from what I've researched and seen, that makes the most sense. When they go into bankruptcy is when things get interesting, because that's when companies are going to be looking to poach some of the IPs and games and potentially make something of this project. There is absolutely no reason, because there's no value in it right now because they're in too much debt to take on the baggage that is Intellivison in its current state. It reminds me a lot of back when I invested in THQ, like, what was it, 15 years, 20 years ago? No, 15 years ago. It was a while ago. And they were trying to turn things around, and they just couldn't. And they ended up filing bankruptcy, and Nordic was one of the companies. There were a bunch, I think it was 4 different companies were poaching the IPs from THQ after they went belly up. And now Nordic changed their name to THQ Nordic as like paying homage to the original THQ, but in reality, it's no relation to the initial company. And I see that kind of potentially taking place here with the Intellivison, where a company or multiple companies, depending on the circumstances and the parties that are interested in how much interest they have, coming in, swooping in, and buying the IPs that Intellivison owns and the games they've created up to the point that they're at, and publishing them on current consoles and cell phones and turning them into at least something people can play. That is a potential option for them. The other route is all the things stay the same, except whoever's buying them decides to take on the challenge and stress of completing the back end of the Amico, which we all know is pretty much the biggest thing that's holding this thing back right now, and producing the console, whether it is what it looks like right now or what Nick Richards alluded to in the comments section of the Start Engine page, where there was like going to be an Amico Slim potentially without the controllers attached. It might just be like an Ouya, like a cube with just the internal guts of the Amico slimmed down to just connect to controllers. It's a potential. But neither one of those options involve Intellivison moving forward in its current state, unfortunately. And that's just me being real. I hope, like I've said before, I hope I'm wrong, because the people I've met, many of the employees, are good people, down-to-earth, hardworking, passionate gamers that want this to succeed. But unfortunately, it's just so many bad decisions, horrible business decisions, choices, wasted money, office spaces that were unnecessarily purchased and rented. Just the books are a mess with this company, and I don't see a road forward with just Intellivison somehow finding an angel investor that comes out of nowhere to swoop in, take on the $5+ million worth of debt, and also start putting down money of their own to see this console through and put it on store shelves. I don't think there's the risk reward there is astronomical. It makes no sense. And that's just, again, that's just being real. So the most obvious option is bankruptcy and someone just buying these pennies on the dollar and bidding them up against whoever else is interested without the debt attached to them, and just doing something with them. Because there's a lot that's been completed. I know a lot of people think that this thing has been like a complete facade and a scam, and they just put the thing together to steal money from people. In the end, it started feeling like that. I say in the end. Recently, it started feeling like that. But along the way, I can speak to it because I played it, and the games do exist. The passion was there, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun to play the games. The controllers were unique, but not absolutely required per se. It would be nice if they found a way to get those to market too. But again, not a necessity, especially right out of the gate, especially if this thing is not successful right out of the gate. It's a huge task to take on, to spend that kind of money without any kind of guarantee money coming back in. So that's where I see the future of Intellivison, and it's a grim picture. And I know for the diehard fans of Intellivison, it's not something you're going to like to hear. But as I've learned recently, the truth hurts, and accepting it sooner than later makes you feel a lot better about it, instead of just living a lie, hoping, dreaming, and wishing. Because while miracles can happen, and I've witnessed them before, hanging your hat on them is not a wise decision mentally. It's very taxing. I hope for the best, but realistically, I am grounded in reality, and I don't see a road forward for this company in its current state, nor do I see any kind of investor coming in to save the day. And I think that was highlighted by Phil Adams' email to everyone that gave zero specifics and a cop-out of a quiet period. That's just way too convenient. It's way too convenient. It literally just lets everyone know that they got nothing going on, because their backs were against the wall. Everyone said, prove it, show us something. You promised us, you'd tell us something about a shipment date. And again, a lie, a clear, flat out lie. There wasn't a shipment date. It was a production date or whatever. Either way, the email said none of that. So maybe the email is telling the truth, but this would be the first time in a long time that we heard anything truthful from the company. And I'm more inclined to believe that it's just something to buy them time while they are trying to figure out how to process the bankruptcy, get out of this, and try to salvage any money that they can before they all jump ship. Again, very grim picture, but just being real, knowing what I know, seeing what I've seen, it's the only thing that makes sense. And I'm sorry for those that are frustrated with my stance. Again, my opinion, just letting you guys know from what I've seen, that's what makes the most sense. Two options, both involve bankruptcy. One of them, potentially a console coming out. And if you split that down the middle, one of them, less of a chance, the Amico in its current form gets published. And the other option, a different version of the Amico that honestly barely resembles what we've been promised for 3+ years here. So we'll see what happens. I'm one of the most interested people to be watching it, so you can be sure I'll be following this. But I see a lot of people on YouTube right now acting like the story's over, and I feel like a big part of the story is coming to a close, but the entire story might just be beginning. I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, you stay smashing.